Good evening, America. Tonight, this war just entered a new and more dangerous phase than anything we have seen in 104 days. Two things happened today that are each historic on their own. Together, they represent the most consequential 24 hours of this entire conflict. First, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, again, completely. The waterway that carries 25% of the world's seaborne oil is shut. Locked, no ships passing, not the partial managed trickle of 40 ships per day that Iran has been allowing under IRGC supervision for weeks. A full closure. The global energy markets that had been cautiously hoping for a peace deal are now in shock. And second, Iran attacked 21 American military targets across 3 countries in a single night: Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan. The IRGC claims it destroyed 4 of those targets, including, and this is the detail that has every military analyst in Washington stunned, an F-35 fighter jet hangar at the American Air Base in Azraq, Jordan. The F-35 is America's most advanced, most expensive, and most sophisticated combat aircraft. A hangar full of them has been hit. Tonight, we are going to go through every single development of the last 24 hours, what it all means, and what the one extraordinary thing Trump said today that almost nobody is talking about could change everything about this war. Stay with me. This is the most important video this channel has ever made. Let us start with the Strait of Hormuz closure, because it is the single most economically devastating action Iran has taken since the war began, and it demands its own full explanation tonight. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz completely as of today, June 11th, 2026. This is not the managed partial opening under IRGC supervision that has been in place for weeks, where Iran was allowing approximately 40 ships per day to transit after coordinating with its naval forces. This is a full closure. The IRGC has announced that no vessels are permitted to pass through the strait. Iranian naval forces have been deployed across the waterway. The strait is shut. To understand what that means in human terms for every American watching this video, here is the full picture. Before this war began, more than 20% of the world's seaborne oil trade passed through the Strait of Hormuz every single day. 20% of global liquefied natural gas, the oil that powers factories in Europe, cars in Asia, and heating systems across the developing world. All of it stopped moving when Iran closed the strait in the early weeks of this war. The partial reopening under Iranian management over the last month had provided minimal relief, but oil markets had been pricing in the possibility of a full diplomatic resolution and a genuine reopening. That hope is now gone. The strait is closed. Oil prices are spiking in Asian markets right now as you watch this video. The 14-cent decline in American gas prices that occurred when deal optimism peaked last week will reverse. The 49% premium Americans have been paying above pre-war fuel prices will likely rise further. And the 45 million people the World Food Program warned face acute hunger because of this war's impact on global energy, and food prices are in greater danger tonight than they were yesterday morning. Iran's decision to close the strait completely was a direct response to American strikes on Iranian air defense systems, ground control stations, and surveillance radar sites near Qeshm Island, Jask, and Bandar Abbas on Tuesday. Those American strikes were themselves a response to Iran shooting down a U.S. Army Apache helicopter on Monday night. And those Iranian strikes on the helicopter were themselves a response to Israeli attacks inside Iran earlier in the week. This is the chain reaction that every diplomat in the world spent 100 days trying to prevent. And it happened anyway, in 72 hours. The chain from Apache helicopter to full Hormuz closure took 72 hours. Now let us go through Iran's attacks on American bases across 3 countries, because the scale and precision of what Iran claimed last night deserves to be understood in full. The IRGC issued a statement saying it had attacked 21 American military targets in a single night. 21 targets across Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan simultaneously. Iran's specific claims are as follows. In Kuwait, the IRGC launched drone attacks against the Ali al-Salem air base. The Kuwaiti army confirmed its air defense systems were engaging hostile aerial targets and urged the public to follow official safety instructions. In Bahrain, Iran launched drone attacks against the United States Fifth Fleet, which is headquartered at Naval Support Activity Bahrain. Bahrain's Interior Ministry sounded warning sirens and urged the public to seek safety. Bahrain's air defenses repelled the attacks, according to a media advisor to Bahrain's king. In Jordan, Iran launched what it described as a long-range missile strike on the Al-Azraq airbase, targeting 4 sites. And here is the claim that has stopped every military analyst in Washington cold. Iran said the targets at Al-Azraq included F-35 fighter jet hangars and a command and control center. The IRGC claimed those targets were among the 4 it says it destroyed. A United States official told Axios that 4 ballistic missiles and several more drones were fired by Iran at U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. A separate U.S. official told the New York Times that nearly all were intercepted, and there have been no reports of U.S. casualties or damage to the bases from the attacks. So the American official line is that nearly all were intercepted and there was no damage. Iran says it destroyed 4 targets, including an F-35 hangar. Both of those statements cannot be fully true simultaneously. One side is overstating results, but here is what is not in dispute. Iran fired 4 ballistic missiles and multiple drones at American military installations in 3 sovereign nations in a single night. Iran targeted the hangar that houses America's most advanced combat aircraft. And Iran did it in retaliation for strikes that were themselves retaliatory, which were in response to a helicopter being shot down, which was itself part of a chain of escalation that started with an Apache patrol over the Strait of Hormuz. Every American needs to understand the scale of what Iran did last night in its full context. Iran attacked 21 American targets. It targeted the Fifth Fleet. It targeted F-35 hangars. It targeted command and control centers. It did all of that simultaneously in 3 different countries using a combination of long-range ballistic missiles and drones. And Trump's response was not to order a massive retaliatory strike. Trump's response was to say Iran will pay the price for taking too long to negotiate a deal. He framed the entire exchange not as a military crisis, but as Iran's failure to negotiate fast enough. That framing is itself revealing. Trump is still treating this as a negotiation. He is still threading the needle between military force and diplomacy in a situation where both are happening at the same time at an accelerating pace. Now let us talk about the single most important statement of today that has received almost no attention because of the missile and drone news. This is the breakthrough that nobody is talking about, and it could change everything. Trump told reporters at the White House today, and I want every American to hear these exact words, that as of this moment, Tehran has agreed to allow the United States into Iran to dig up buried nuclear material in coordination with Iranian authorities once the conflict ends. Read that again. Iran has agreed to allow the United States into Iran to physically remove Iran's buried enriched uranium stockpile. Not just to negotiate about it, not to study frameworks for future discussions. Iran has agreed that American personnel will enter Iranian territory, locate the buried stockpile of approximately 972 pounds of 60% enriched uranium, dig it up, and remove it from Iran once the conflict ends. That is the most significant nuclear concession Iran has made in the entire 104-day history of this war. And Trump announced it casually to reporters while the missiles were still smoking in Kuwait and Bahrain and Jordan. Here is why that matters so enormously beyond the headline. The buried nuclear material has been one of the central unresolved questions of this entire peace process. Iran enriched uranium to 60% purity, a short technical step from weapons grade. American and Israeli strikes destroyed or severely damaged the facilities where that material was stored. Iran buried it underground. Nobody knew exactly where. The IAEA could not verify what had happened to it. And Trump has been saying publicly for weeks that Iran's enriched uranium will be removed one way or another. Now, Iran has apparently said it will allow American personnel to physically do that removal. If that commitment holds, if it survives the current escalation, if it can be codified in the Memorandum of Understanding and verified by the IAEA, it is the biggest nuclear achievement of this entire war. Trump also said the blockade of Iran's ports is the most powerful thing, suggesting America retains significant economic leverage even as the military situation escalates. And he called Netanyahu a great partner, signaling the U.S.-Israel relationship, despite recent tensions, remains intact. But here is the question that the nuclear breakthrough immediately raises. How does a commitment that Iran made about allowing American personnel to dig up nuclear material survive a night in which Iran simultaneously attacked 21 American military targets across 3 countries and closed the Strait of Hormuz? How do you build a peace deal with a government that is simultaneously making its most significant nuclear concession and launching its largest multi-country military operation of the last several weeks? The answer is that you do not resolve that contradiction by choosing one reality over the other. Both things are happening. Iran is escalating militarily. Iran is making nuclear concessions diplomatically. Both of those things are Iran's strategy. Maximum military pressure combined with maximum diplomatic progress, designed to extract the maximum possible economic and political concessions before the final moment of signing. And here is the critical update on American counterstrikes, because CENTCOM's operations did not stop with Tuesday's strikes on Qeshm, Jask, and Bandar Abbas. U.S. Central Command confirmed that it conducted additional strikes on multiple Iranian targets on Wednesday, as part of what it described as continued self-defense operations. CENTCOM said it is currently conducting operations against multiple Iranian targets. American forces are actively striking inside Iran right now, today, as you watch this video. The ceasefire that Secretary Rubio said was over 2 weeks ago is now fully and openly over in practical terms. America and Iran are in active military combat. The question of whether that combat escalates further or whether the nuclear breakthrough Trump announced today creates enough diplomatic momentum to reverse course is the defining question of the next 72 hours. Let us now talk about what is happening in Lebanon, because the Lebanon dimension of this conflict has not paused while Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan were under attack. The Lebanese Health Ministry confirmed today that the death toll from Israeli attacks in Lebanon since March 2nd has reached 3,666. 3,666 people killed in Lebanon in 104 days. The number grows every single day. Israeli forces continue operations in southern Lebanon and the northern part of the country. Hezbollah continues to fire rockets and missiles at northern Israel. The Lebanon ceasefire that was supposed to be part of the broader Iran-U.S. peace framework remains as unresolved as ever, and every escalation between the U.S. and Iran in the Gulf makes the Lebanon question more complicated, because Iran's willingness to sign any deal that does not protect Lebanon is directly tied to the military pressure Iran believes it is applying through the Strait of Hormuz closure and the attacks on American bases. Let me also bring in something that happened today involving the Iran nuclear deal diplomacy that adds another dimension to Trump's announcement about the buried uranium. Trump said the blockade of Iran's ports is the most powerful thing. He said it has given America more leverage over Iran than military strikes. He is saying that the economic strangulation of Iran, the naval blockade that has prevented Iranian oil exports and disrupted Iranian trade, has been more effective than bombing at producing Iranian concessions. If that assessment is correct, it suggests that America's most powerful tool in this negotiation is not its Air Force or its carrier strike groups. It is the blockade. And it suggests that if Iran really has agreed to allow American personnel to remove its buried nuclear material, it is because the economic pain of the blockade has finally become unbearable enough to produce that concession. Pakistan's mediators are still in contact with both sides. Qatar is still available as a meeting venue. The diplomatic channel has not been formally severed. And Iran's concession on the buried uranium, if it holds, gives both governments something to point to as evidence that a deal is still worth pursuing, despite the escalation. The challenge is that every military exchange between now and a signed agreement makes that deal harder to explain to domestic audiences on both sides. Every F-35 hangar that Iran claims to have hit makes it harder for Trump to explain to his base why he is signing a deal. Every American strike on Iranian air defense sites makes it harder for Iran's supreme leader to explain to his hardliners why they are making nuclear concessions. Here is the full picture as of tonight, June 11th, 2026, day 104 of this war. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz completely. Iran attacked 21 American targets in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan in a single night. Iran claims it destroyed 4 targets, including an F-35 hangar in Jordan. America launched additional strikes on multiple Iranian targets. Iran retaliated again. Trump said Iran will pay the price. Trump also said Iran agreed to allow American personnel to dig up its buried nuclear material. Lebanon's death toll reached 3,666. Oil prices are rising. The peace deal that Trump said is in its final throes is being pursued while bombs are simultaneously falling in every direction. And the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway that connects the global economy to the energy supply of the Persian Gulf, is closed again tonight, completely. America. Here's my question for you tonight. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz completely, attacked 21 American targets in 3 countries, and claimed it destroyed an F-35 hangar in Jordan. But Iran also agreed today to allow American personnel to physically enter Iran and remove its buried nuclear material. 2 things happening simultaneously: maximum military escalation and maximum nuclear concession. Here's what I want you to tell me in the comments right now. Does Iran's agreement to let America dig up its buried nuclear material change how you see this war? Is that concession worth the full Hormuz closure and the attacks on our bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan? Or do you believe America should now end the ceasefire formally, declare the deal dead, and fight this war to a military conclusion? Drop your answer right now. Every comment you leave tells the people watching this channel what Americans actually think. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The Strait of Hormuz is closed tonight. This story will break again before sunrise.